Good evening. I want to welcome everyone to our Earth Week celebration event, a climate conversation. My name is Cindy. I am with the League of Women Voters and the Environmental Action Team. Tonight we have a great program set up for you, but I'm going to have our spokesperson Jane share a few words about the League of Women Voters before we start on climate.
So hello and welcome. Thank you for coming to the 2022 Earth Week, Earth Day. I was there in 1970 when it started, so do the math. And what an exciting ride it has been. I was looking up the theme for this year's 2022 celebration is invest in our planet, which seems like a pretty good thing for us to think about. I mean, when you invest, you want to get a good return, don't you? I think so. So that's what the League of Women Voters is working with a lot of other people. Hang on. We are a nonpartisan group, and that means we're not, don't take any party or candidate's side. It does not mean we're not political. In fact, we do two things at least. We educate and we advocate for things that the League has positions on. And in this case, we are advocating for our planet. We have a whole set of positions that says we need to take care of this. We need to invest in it. And again, these people who came up with the theme for this year says to invest in knowledge. That's good. We like to say that we are truthful and honest, and that everything we do is an awareness both locally as well as internationally. And I guess if you're talking about the planet, we're talking about universally also. They say, then we agree that we advocate and act boldly. We can do that. Innovate broadly. We've got the people here with the imaginations to do that. And implement equitably. And that's another whole category of making sure that everybody benefits from what we are doing. And I was just talking with Mazdi, who's excited about including the diversity, equity, and inclusion aspect of a look at everything that way. So, that's us in the League. The Environmental Action Team is a very active group, and the Pollinators Habitat, which organized tonight, is part of that. So we welcome you. We are looking for members. We're also looking for coalitions. So join us.
Give it a oh wait, let's ask Chris. Can they turn the volume up? Not too much. Hello? Little better? Good, good. Well, thank you, Jane. We have a great program planned with 3 pretty dynamic speakers this evening. But as we promoted this, it's about a conversation. So as they come up and talk about who they are and who they represent and what they're doing for the planet, please feel comfortable at any point asking them questions and having a conversation with them. I have asked Jupe Herrick, who is with the League of Women Voters, active on our administration team and also the Environmental Action Team, to introduce our first speaker tonight.
Thanks, Cindy. I'm happy to do that. I'm excited, actually, to introduce Dr. Emily Fisher. Emily is there. She'll raise her hand. That's who she is. Emily is with the Department of Atmospheric Science at Colorado State University, and she's an associate professor there. She's also an affiliate faculty member with, the School of Global and Sustainable Environmental Sustainability, SOGIS. I know it by SOGIS. But I wrote up a couple things, and when she's not teaching, she does lead a number of initiatives that are designed to provide high-quality mentorship to the next generation. And that's, I think, kind of what we're here about tonight. Obviously, she's received a lot of numerous awards and accolades for her teaching and research, but I suspect her most proud achievement is being a mom to 2 daughters. She's also the co-founder of a group called Science Moms. It's an initiative to help parents understand the urgency of climate change and their ability to support action on the issue, and underline their ability to support action. I think, in short, Science Moms really tries to demystify climate issues, climate science, and motivate everyday moms to help in this initiative. So I'd encourage all of you, to go to Science Mom's website and look at it. It's really interesting, and I think it's a fascinating approach. So, Emily, thank you for coming, and here you go.
Thank you all for being here. Before I introduce Science Moms, I just want to take a minute to center us on why we're all here. Look over at that cute girl, I think, right over there. By the time she has her first heartbreak, by the time she forgets to call home one night, if we haven't acted on climate change, we will not be leaving her the world we promised. The timeline is very short, but there is lots we can do. So that's why I'm here. I'm thankful that you're taking the time. This is why I take the time. My daughters are 7 and 10. I come to things like this because of them. So I'm an atmospheric science professor. I study air quality, and Science Moms is an organization that's made up of largely faculty members who study various aspects of climate change. My work links to climate change through wildfires, and so that's really what I can talk about if we want to talk about science. So why moms? So everyone's like, why did you focus on moms? Well, there's 85 million moms in America, right, which is 175 times the U.S. Army, so the size of the U.S. Army. And so moms get things done, and we're speaking to moms because I think moms get a lot of things done, and we share a deep, deep care for the future. We're heavily invested. Moms have also done amazing things in history, right? They helped end child labor. They brought women the right to vote, right? They've done many big things, and so now it's time for moms to take on climate change. So what is Science Moms? So Science Moms are our group, right? We're trying to help demystify climate science and help people feel more comfortable talking about the issue. Most moms are very worried about the issue, but if you sort of statistically look across the US, they feel nervous to talk about the issue because they don't feel that they understand it enough. And that's what we're trying to overcome. So this week, I want to make sure I leave a lot of time for us to just chat. But this week, we're starting a new set of messages nationally, and there are 3 things, right, that we're focusing on. One is we're asking people to start swapping, right? So anything that you can swap in your life for something that is less energy intensive, that is what we're trying to focus on for a message. The second thing is share, right? So share as much as you can about climate change. And the third thing is speak out. So we're working on a set of videos, which we'll launch tomorrow. I filmed mine a few weeks ago, helping people understand how to reach out to representatives, what to say, what will happen when someone picks up the phone, and what to ask for. And we're hoping that more moms, more parents, more grandmothers, more grandfathers will feel comfortable saying, I'm worried about this. I'm worried about this for a kid who exists today, not a fictional kid, a kid that I love. These are not my children, but I coach under 10 soccer. So those are the kids, right? So those kids, what do we need to do? And we need to do it quickly. So that's it. So I'll pass the mic to the next person, and I'm happy to chat with you about anything related to Science Moms or climate. Oh, question now? Okay, you just tell me when to stop answering questions. Okay? ScienceMoms.com, you will see a video, the video of me and my kids. Most of that was taken up in the mountains here. There's a variety of different videos there. The videos may show up in your life sooner than you might imagine. My video plays in the DC area on CNN and Fox News alternating every hour. So we are trying to get this information out to as many people, but you can just go find it on Science Moms. And there's also really nice, there's some humorous ones, there's some really basics of climate change there, 30-second kind of videos that you can pass along, you can post, you can share, that cover all the basics. Yeah. I'm not doing anything in schools right now. That's a big question. I'm not a K through 12 educator. Oh, yeah. Science Moms is not going into schools. Science Moms are trying to empower mothers, grandmothers, parents to raise your voice very loud right now, because the time is now. That's what we're doing. So, but I have thoughts about how to talk to kids about climate change, if that would be helpful. Is that helpful? Oh, is that, okay. So it depends on their age. So little kids, right? Little kids, I would take them outside and try to help them understand the world in general. When you get to elementary school, I would start asking kids what they know already about climate change, rather than immediately start telling them things about climate change, because they may have already seen it in school, right? And so the first thing is to try to get some information on what they're learning and where their sort of knowledge gaps are. And from there, I think it's very important, because climate change is very anxiety producing, to let them know that you're working on it, right? So with my own kids, they're intimately aware of what climate change means, because they've run from the Cameron Peak fire. So climate change has a very deep meaning to them, and it's very scary. But what I say is, this is a grown-up problem. I'm working on it. And we understand very well what causes climate change. It is human-caused, and therefore we have solutions. So that's the way. And if your kids are high schoolers, then you might assume that they know more than you about it. That's true, right? Like, so there I don't think preaching is necessary. It's enabling action and listening to their voices and preferences. So that's the way I think about that. What else? Did you want to say something?
Well, I'm just wondering if you feel like you're making progress.
Oh, yes. Yes. I don't have all those stats with me. The way Science Moms works is I volunteer my time. All the moms volunteer their time. But there's large marketing teams that are studying the impact of this. And yes, in states where we are running these educational messages intensively, they are reaching different audiences and changing their opinion on the need for action on climate change by percentage points. So we feel very good about that, and it's a very strange experience for me, because if you've watched these videos, has anyone watched any of these videos? Okay, when you see them, right? I mean, they're kind of emotional. And there's pictures, baby pictures of mine on there. But that sort of heart, I think, needed to come to climate education. And so if that's what I give, that's what I give. But it's very weird to know that my children's baby pictures are like routinely playing on CNN. And show up on like YouTube feeds of my neighbors. And the kids are like, we saw you on YouTube. And I'm like, oh, my kids are not pleased about it, usually. So they're like, can you stop doing that? I'm like, well, it's for your future, honey. So, yeah. There is distilled information on what contributes to the problem and contributes to the solution, and there are sort of blueprints of how to effectively reach out to decision makers. That's what's there. So, and there are a number of resources that link from there that we've vetted, so they're scientifically relevant. Yes, in a lot of different ways. That's a big question. Yeah, but all of us are also at universities, right? So we're all have different sets of networks. Yeah. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for doing what you're doing. Thank you for doing what you're doing. So yeah. That's Science Moms, but I'm happy to chat about anything after you think of questions, but are you next? Who's introducing you? There you go.
Thank you. Up next, we have Matsy Boyles. You can come up, Matsy. She comes to us from Pretty Brainy, which is a nonprofit organization. She started her time with Pretty Brainy at age 12, correct? In the Pretty Brilliant program. She's presently a freshman at CSU, majoring in ecosystem science and sustainability with minors in diversity and inclusion and natural resources and geospatial information sciences. Matsy is now an ambassador for the Pretty Brainy organization and one of the key developers of the Mission Innovation app, which I hope you'll share a little bit about that. Perfect. And at this point, she is committing herself to science and climate change. Yes?
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Just like to say thank you again for having me come talk today. As mentioned, I'm a second-year student at CSU studying. It's okay. Studying ecosystem science and sustainability. And I'm also here as an ambassador for the Pretty Brainy program, nonprofit, which is created by Heidi Ohlinger over there in the crowd. I'm giving her a shout out. But yes, you can applaud. She's wonderful. And Pretty Brainy works to empower young women and girls in STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and math. And through Pretty Brainy, I actually have been able to partner with other young ladies, and we've worked together as a team to create the Mission Innovation app, which is a sustainable behavior change campaign for, with the city of Fort Collins and their climate action goals. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Mission Innovation because I love it, and I think it's a great resource that everyone should be able to use and know about. As I'm biased as a creator of the app itself. We started this project initially 4 years ago, about roughly in 2018 was when our Mission Innovation event, which was an innovation marathon for climate action, happened at CSU, partnered with the city of Fort Collins to use their climate prompts towards, we got together about 50 girls in high school, and they kind of came together, and high school and college age girls came together, and we created solutions based off of different prompts the city had towards climate change. And from there, me and the other creators of that event and organizers of that event came together, and we created the Mission Innovation app, which was, we are the lead developers, we've created all the content for it, and it is very wonderful. So this app focuses, we kind of turned that initial spark of innovation and creativity into a game, sort of. We've kind of gamified climate action to make it create incentive and make it more fun and accessible for more age groups. So the app itself hosts 7 different modules, each of which focusing on a different area of someone's life in how they interact with resources, how they interact with other people, how much they know about climate change and global warming, and then also how much they, you know, their home itself and the people they live with, how they act in relationship to those things. And then within those modules are various numbers of pledges. We have some as small as 3 up to transportation module, which has 9 pledges, which actually then are individual actions, kind of breaking down that group into something even smaller that is a very feasible action that someone can take towards climate change, which is something that we've developed this kind of to be a tool that people can access for free on app stores and the web. The main, I think, when I think of the app and why we created it and why it's so important, there's kind of 4 main goals that I've seen of how it can impact people. The first of which being the very, obvious one is just reducing carbon emissions. Our app actually, for each pledge you take, we have approximately calculated how many pounds of carbon are being prevented from entering the atmosphere from that action taken if you maintain that habit over the course of a calendar year. And if someone completes the entirety of the app and all of the pledges on it, it is roughly 1 metric ton of carbon that is being prevented, which is a large number per year of carbon that is being prevented for an individual, which is something that, that kind of gives a lot of power to someone as an individual when faced with this giant problem. And then there are 3 kind of underlying really important things that this app can do for people. The first is, I think it provides a very basic and in-depth explanation of what sustainability is, what global warming is, and it provides just like very basic education on that, which I think a lot of people, sometimes you might not even realize you don't understand what something means until you learn about it. I think sustainability is a word that is really commonly kind of just like thrown around in certain places. It's used a lot in things like greenwashing, where companies are saying something is sustainable. It's put on plates and name plates and policies all over the place, but I feel like a lot of people don't understand what that really means or don't understand how that impacts them, and so that's something our app does, is provide that just very basic sustainable education to kind of give that power and education back to someone. The second is it promotes team building and leadership. Team building, our app again is a gamified version of sustainability action. So a lot of it is we encourage people to join teams and pair up or join, do it with your family, do it with your roommates, do it with your classmates, your friends, the people on your sports teams, anyone who you may encounter. That's kind of the goal of this. And then leadership is also a really big push through this app, which is especially why I like to push this app for younger kids. Elementary school, middle school, high school, anyone my age or younger, I think is like really good. This app is really good for them because it really encourages people to lead their families in sustainable action. It encourages them to lead their classmates and peers in sustainable action. We say this at the beginning, the first module of the app is education, and we really work to, one of those is like, you are a climate activist. This is what you're doing for the climate, and you are a climate activist now, and you care about this, and that's why you're here. We really like to empower people that way, which is something that was another goal of this app that I think it's, we really, that's why I like this app, is it empowers people, there's a lot of follow through with action, and that's something that I find, especially for young kids who feel like something has been taken out of their control, especially in terms of climate change, really giant problem. Kids can feel very overwhelmed and stressed about that, as we all can and probably do, but that's something our app does. And the third, I think it honestly just helps eliminate that climate anxiety of, okay, this is this giant problem that is human caused and being pushed forward by humans, but how can I as an individual kind of help and make an impact in my community when I have no idea what's happening and I don't really know about the science. I think you were talking about like demystifying the science of climate change, like understanding what that is. That's kind of another goal of our app, to help alleviate climate anxiety. And this is kind of for all those reasons we created the Mission Innovation app, and it's very important to us. And I think, especially when I'm looking at people in my generation, I see a lot of people who have a lot of problems with thinking about the future. It's really scary when you're young. When I was 14 years old or 15, I don't really remember, but I really wanted to be an environmental engineer. And I tell this story because this is something that I just think this whole concept of climate doomism is very scary to handle as a child. I was 14, and I don't remember exactly what the context of this conversation was. Someone came up to me, and I was telling them about how I wanted to be an environmental engineer, and he looked at me and he goes, "Why would you want to do that? Why are you going to college if you care about the environment? Because by the time you graduate, it will be too late, and there will be nothing that you can do about it." And yeah, that is not helpful. That is a really weighted and terrifying thing to say to someone who really just wants to do their best and make a difference in the world. And I just remember that hit me, and I was like, oh no. That panic set in, and that was a really scary moment for me as, learning about climate change and learning about what was happening. And I think that's one of the reasons I really love what we're doing with the app and the pledges on the app, because it really is just what is in your life, breaking down your life into these categories and kind of thinking, okay, but I can take action individually, even if I know nothing about this, and even if it feels too overwhelming or scary. And that's one of the things I really truly love about this app and this project that we're working on. And I mean, shameless plug, I know that I created it and I'm very biased, but I think that this kind of control and power and empowerment and leadership that this app can give to someone, especially because it is empowering people to take action for the climate in their own communities and families, is one of the most important things to me. And that's something that I've really loved that I've been able to do with this app and the work that I do. So, thank you. Yes.
Can you say the name of the app and where to get it again?
It's called the Mission Innovation App. That's just the name. And then we actually have a QR code over on my computer. It is currently on the Android store. Coming this summer, official update to the Android store and to the Apple store. But it is a website as well. So the QR code is just to the website, and you can sign up over there. Yeah, so you enter the app, you make your account, you join a team, whatever you may choose to do with that. You put in your age. We also block it by age group, just because some people are allowed to drive and some people are not, and some people are older than 21 and some people are not, and some people live on their own and some people don't. So we kind of blocked pledges by that category so that it's more age specific, just so that we're not having someone who's like, well, I don't own a car, so why would I do this? And then some of the pledges, I think I'm going to give an example. There's a whole pledge just related to computers and just home technology that you might own. Some of them are actually very simple pledges. One of them for the computer is to decrease your battery, your screen time that it stays open after you go away to, I think, 5 minutes or less. And that actually, the reduction in energy use of a device by that alone is drastic. It's way larger than I thought it would be, personally. Another one is for transportation. We have an entire module on transportation, which is related to both your own personal transportation of driving, taking public transport, stuff like that, and then also things that are transported to you. So your groceries, where you're getting your clothing, air travel, stuff like that. So one of them is it essentially just asks you, we provide links for City of Fort Collins transportation, and it asks you to kind of poke around on those websites and just go, okay, where are the bus routes near my house? Can I be taking the bus somewhere that I should be, or am I driving somewhere that I could just easily take the bus? And that's kind of one of those things that we would do for that. So. Yeah, the first module that we like people to complete is the education module. Again, there's just basic sustainability education on what global warming is. We do have, in that module, we actually, I created a lab. It's a little setup of you put Alka-Seltzer tablets in water, and it creates different concentrations and temperatures in closed, sealed bottles based off of like the gas levels in the air. So that's like a very simple like experiment that was one we pushed towards younger kids, but that was an example of something in the education module. Yeah. Yeah, I'll allow the next speaker to be thinking. Thank you.
Thank you, Metzi. Our final speaker this evening is Heidi Pruce. Heidi comes to us with 25 years of environmental policy and community development. She's an active member of the League of Women Voters. She is a part of our environmental action team, but most recently accepted her role as the Larimer County Climate Smart and Sustainability Manager. And she's going to speak to us on what Larimer County is involved in right now.
Thank you. Normally when I speak, I have the PowerPoint or the boards or whatever. So the information that I'll share with you today, I have lots of handouts for if you really want to see all the data. Or you can go to the website. That's fine too. But thank you all for being here today and for staying to the very last speaker. Yay. Yay? Yeah, okay. And the wind died down for just a half a second, so that's nice. I really appreciate you all being here. Changing policy at a local level is the most important thing that you can do because the local level policy trickles up. States pay attention to what's going on locally. The federal government pays attention to what's going on in states. So the action that you take locally is meaningful from that perspective, and it's also meaningful because local rules impact your everyday life. Your everyday life is affected about how you get to and from work. Your everyday life is affected by what food is available to you and where you get it. Your everyday life is affected by, do you have enough water to drink? Is it clean? Same thing with air quality, and you know this, and so acting locally is so important. And I spoke, when I was going around to the tables today, I spoke with some folks and say, yeah, sometimes I get tired of giving my public input because you don't know if it's really sinking in. You feel like sometimes they hear you and then they go do what they're going to do anyway, those people over there, right? What I will share with you is that in my experience, I've worked in 4 different states, always with local governments, and with the right kind of effort that you put forward and consistent engagement, you can really make a difference. And so I really appreciate you all being here and spending the time to do that. Let me tell you a little bit about Climate Smart and what Larimer County's doing. The county, it's exciting, right? They're going to finally have a discussion about climate, and we're talking about climate in a way that embodies and interweaves sustainability principles so that we aren't focusing on a siloed issue, but we are looking across the board. That means not only the suite of environmental stewardship topics that you might be able to think of, but it also includes the equity, diversity, and inclusion that we know those people in our community who are disenfranchised, that have not had sufficient voice in the process, are often those that are the most impacted by what happens with our climate. So making sure that we are as meaningful, mindful of the process as possible is interwoven into this process, which is kind of exciting because that's 2 new things wrapped into one project that the county's working on. So you're all here and you want the plan like tomorrow. And there are folks in our community who this is a new topic for them to really think about. This is a new topic for them to consider, if this if I share an outcome or a goal with you, my approach might be different. So how do I fit into the process? So we're taking a little bit of time to level set, have some shared definitions, have some shared direction and goal. When I got hired on, the process had begun just a little bit, and I've taken it just the next step, and we're getting ready to finish what we call phase 2, which is community engagement. So having some of this first exploratory discussion with all the members in our community around what do they think of when they hear about climate, and what do they think of when they hear sustainability, and can we make some of this common language together? So through this process, through the last 6 months, we have received over 600 comments from people throughout Larimer County. We have had a voice in every zip code in Larimer County, which is kind of exciting. And that's a pretty good effort for 6 months through the winter. Starting with COVID, you only could ever meet on Zoom, right? So now we're launching out of COVID, and we are getting ready to turn that community voice information into an action plan. So we want the voices that have come forward, which many of you have participated in, so thank you. We want those voices to turn into action. And the way that that's going to happen is by inviting partners to join Larimer County in taking action on the voices and the priorities that you have already spoken to. Who are those partners? Well, the municipalities for sure, because the county is not the only government entity in this area that has some jurisdiction and some responsibility. But we also have private sector partners, nonprofit partners, we also have academic partners that all have something to offer. And it's gonna take all of us because it's a heavy lift. We have a lot of ground to cover. And in particular, because of this urgent lift, because we know our disasters are increasing in this area, we're feeling the temperature change. I saw a recent article that NOAA produced that demonstrates that we are above the 2%, the 2-degree temperature change in Larimer County and all 4 seasons of the year. That's consistent. So it's here, it's happening to us. How is it then that we take meaningful action? And the next year, we're going to be gathering these partners, people who are willing to come to the table with us, identifying what our goals and actions are going to be, and create a method that we can work together and that we can articulate, these are the goals we set, this is what worked, this is what didn't. Yes, we're checking the box, we made some progress here, now let's move on and let's do the next thing. So there needs to be a little bit of time that it's going to take us to develop that process and that plan. But that's where we are in Larimer County. In addition to doing this external Climate Smart initiative, you should know that the county is also going to try on walking the talk. So pay attention to the things that the county is coming forward with in the next year or so. There are some innovative ideas that are coming forth from staff, learning how to work across department lines that maybe you'll be excited about. And you can help support the staff who are trying to work hard to make those actions happen. Because those actions, if the county can demonstrate walking the talk, then having partners come to the table to help us as a larger community-wide effort will be the more possible than ever. So it's exciting that the county said, yep, we need to start this initiative. I'm very thankful to the county for hiring me and giving me a place within the community so that I have a chance to meet you all and hear your ideas and put them into action. That's it. That's the program. That's me. I'm here for questions. I have handouts for you. I have the Climate Smart Framework, which was the first phase of the Climate Smart Initiative. You can pick those up, but just know that's the first phase. There's not the action that you want to see in there, but it's coming. It's coming, and there's going to be another report and another report. You can also go to larimer.org/climate-smart, And you can find the updates of where we are with the community engagement. If you were involved with that, the community engagement summary, where you can see your voice on the printed paper, is published. It's on the page. We are working right now on our recommendations report to get us to the implementation. So we're letting loose one report after the next, so that some of those are available over here. And I do have some coasters that have a QR code for that site. If you can't remember what it is, you can take a coaster with you. Very good. Thank you all so much. So there's a question over here. Thank you. Go ahead, Pat. My magic wand, no. If I had a magic wand, no. So Larimer County has adopted increasingly more stringent oil and gas regulations, as you likely know. The most recent thing that has bubbled up from the discussions about how are we going to address our air quality in this area is that the city and the county are going to pull together a new air quality board after they work through what their agreement is going to be on what does that look like. So there's going to be an exploration of how are the city of Fort Collins and the county going to work together to pull together a very meaningful discussion about what do we mean by monitoring, what are the goals with that monitoring to help us with regard to our regulation, and how are we going to move forward. So that's in process. That discussion just happened, I don't know if it was this week or last week. In the last 5 days, that discussion has happened. So there's intent to take action, and it's a matter of getting through the process. Yeah. Go ahead, I heard you. That's all you.
So if it's a matter of process,
Yeah.
you know, every government has to be a matter of process. We've just been looking at these small children over here, and we're out of time. How do we have timelines and intermediate goals to know that we don't get to the end of the timeline? It's like, we didn't get there. Oops. How do we know that we're really holding to reasonable timelines that are going to get us there for our 80%?
Yeah. So it's a great question. And that's the purpose of developing this implementation plan that comes out of Climate Smart. So right now, our recommendations are going to be for the areas of priority. And in finalizing that and launching into our fall discussion on implementation will be the development of the goals and the metrics so that we can then set the timelines that go along with that. So that process requires more than just the county saying and declaring this is what it's going to be. We have to have the partners on board. You have to be speaking with your local governments. You have to be speaking with your private sector partners who can make some big changes without government to come to the table and to help us set those. These are our community goals, and these are how we're all going to contribute to meeting those. So that's the intent of the Climate Smart Initiative. Go ahead.
There are roughly 80,000 people in Loveland that are breathing dirty air. Has there been some substantial outreach to Loveland to join this air quality consortium?
That is a great question. To my knowledge, no. The discussion that was held the question was around, has Loveland or other towns been invited to this air quality group? The discussion was just held between county commissioners and City of Fort Collins council members. I think it's a great suggestion, and I would certainly advocate for more voices at the table. Yeah. So the question is around how can we get action now? Forget a plan. How can we get action now? You know, I think I said to someone else earlier, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and it's not just the squeakiest wheel. It's the squeak that comes to it with a thoughtful, here's the information. As you have stated, there have been some pieces of information shared with our local governments around what they are able to do and not able to do, I would say continue the message. And I would say that part of the hesitation that we have and the cause of all these public meetings and a lot of planning is because just as you don't want one member of your family deciding where you're going to go on vacation, you want it to be a family discussion and the family comes to agreement. We have to have some agreement across this community, not only about what the priorities are and how we can address those, but how we're going to take the action. So it's this continued movement. And I hear the frustration, and I agree with you with the frustration that we could do something today. We could have done something 10 years ago. We could have done something 20 years ago. It's a matter of continuing to have your voices heard and continuing to put the information out there while we're going as fast as we can go to get all those players at the same place. I can't solve that issue for you. There has to be consensus among the elected officials to do that, and there has to be community buy-in that this is how we are going to take care of our health, how we are going to take care of future health. So that's the process that we're undergoing right now. That's why the community engagement, that's why we are developing consensus around those issues. Yeah. What role does the EPA play? Well, they're at the federal level. We're at the very local level. So the federal EPA passes rules that then the states can make more stringent, and then, depending on where you live, sometimes local government can make more stringent. And it depends on what the issues are. So the EPA sets the bare minimum, right? Isn't that right? That's right. That's why I'm suggesting to you that the fact that Larimer County is working hard to develop a actionable climate and sustainability plan is where that trickles up to meaningful change at a state level. And when the states have collectively meaningful action, that feeds up to the EPA. So it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. There are multiple approaches that have to be happening at the same time in order to make the rapid change that needs to be made. The regulations need to be understood and implemented per the direction that the legal authority allows for. The elected officials have the ability to modify the regulations and direct of course, you know, you have to have the right amount of staff. You have to have the right tools. You have to have all of these pieces that help implement the regulation. So, and the way in which the regulations are implemented is dependent on the legal authority to do that. That's not my authority. Yes, thank you for the opportunity.
We only have the pavilion until sundown.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for sticking around. I do want to give a special thanks to our partners that showed up at 5, set up their tables, introduced us what they are doing or what we can do to participate in some climate action. Thank you, Emily, Matsy, and Heidi. Happy Earth Day.